I think we'll talk a little bit about that today. I was meditating this morning. You know what? I left to go to the gym this morning and I was going to put on my let's get jacked up and lift heavier weight, harder, faster, stronger. But then I was like, I need to calm down. It's Monday morning and I put on, um, there's a, it's a great on Spotify, but he's also on Substack. It's the Life Wisdom by Words of Taoism. And it's really good. If you guys like, he has great podcasts, he calls them, but they're like guided meditations and they'll really put you in a great state of mind. I need to meet him. Maybe I'll get him on a Substack Live also. But Cindy, we have to find a way to get you in here. So does anybody, until Cindy gets here, have a question or anything about life, business, Substack, LinkedIn, if you feel like there's a way that I can help you, since we're waiting for Cindy to get here. We were going to talk about building a bullshit-free zone around your life. And I think I was going to ask her what that means to her because it was her idea for the topic, but I guess it means about like AI and all the, a lot of the fakeness that exists out there. But I guess we can get to that if she makes it on here. But does anybody have any questions or anything? I don't know how specifically I can help you, but I love answering questions. I do have quite a bit of experience with business, sales, marketing, branding, um, all that stuff. For those who don't know, I've been building a lot on LinkedIn over the last like 7, 8, 9 years, really. And I was able to build my business from that. It was a lot of work, but it's changed my life. And I live on the beach in Mexico in Playa del Carmen. Has anybody ever been here? It's really nice. And um, and I work remotely, so I'm kind of a nomad. Although I'm pretty settled. I got married like 4 months ago, and um, I'm not wandering too much. Although we did spend the last couple summers in Spain, in Valencia. If you haven't been, I recommend it. It's quite amazing. And but that's what's going on. Lately, I've been working on the elite newsletter. What we're going to be doing uh, is I'm going to be offering a crazy deal. If anybody on here is listening, I'm going to do a oh, all right. I'll get to that little deal thing I'm going to be doing. Karen says, with all your experience building on LinkedIn, how has AI impacted it? Quite a bit. This is a great question, especially AI slop with everyone just cutting and pasting sometimes and regurgitating work. How do you stand out? That is an excellent question and one that I'm getting a lot. And you know what? The best solution I've found to it, I can answer it. I was just talking about it on a Substack last week with Michael, Dr. Michael Meneghetti, who's an amazing surgeon, um, who we work together. But what were we talking about is this. And Substack is a great kind of solution to that LinkedIn problem that we have right now, which isn't really going away anytime soon. What happened was, I'm going to use me as an example. I used to use a lot of viral videos and I use them. And then what I do is it's a great way to create content. And whenever you're creating content, you want to have a hook. You know, there's something when you're writing content, it's not just random. There's a hook, there's a supporting hook, there's text and content that supports your hook and supporting hook. And then there's closing, there's calls to action. Like there's a whole system that goes into creating content. And same thing with writing newsletters or anything on Substack or anywhere there's long form written content. And I used to use a lot of viral videos. And then what happened was I saw a shift over the last like 3 years or so where everybody was posting the same stuff. And this is probably what you're talking about, Karen. The same memes, the same infographics, the same quotes, the billboards, everything like that. And there is value in those things. You're inspiring people, you're motivating people, but it was the exact same stuff with the exact same AI content. And so I started doing that too, because just like uh, everything else, it was working. but it really wasn't working for me. And there was a problem I had with it, just like the reason you were asking me, is because it's not me. It's not part of my personality. I'm an old ski racer, a downhill ski racer, party chef, like guy. I'm 54 now, but I did this 35 years ago. And um, so I was posting a lot of stuff in alignment with who I am, the type of personality I have, which is fun, outgoing. I'm professional and I take care of business, but I also like to have fun. And I live on the beach. I lived in mountains my whole life, um, and so your brand should really be a reflection of you. That's why it's called a personal brand. And so after about a year or so, year and a half of doing that type of content, I realized that's not me. So now I started posting things that are more in alignment with who I am, my personality. The thing is this is like with AI, what AI is doing, has effectively done, is it it pretty much commoditized information. So anything that you're reading, there's nothing new under the sun. In fact, I was talking about this yesterday on a Substack post that a friend of mine said is like everything that exists has been around for millennia. All the wisdom, everything's just regurgitated wisdom for the human condition. It's like there was all the religions from thousands of years ago, and it was all ancient philosophy. Then the Bible came along, and governments, and um, uh, self-help books, all this stuff. It's all just different spins on the same stuff, right? There's nothing new. And now there's AI and there's iPhones. That's new. That's the only thing new is technology. But, when I started doing online business stuff, it was really like 18 years ago. I had an online coin business that I made a lot of money. It taught me everything about business. It changed my life. And I was selling rare coins in gold and silver. And it was, I built this business, a rare coin warehouse, and I was selling millions of dollars in coins. And I learned about business, how to build online businesses, about e-commerce, and then about fundamental business principles like customer service and like all the normal stuff. And it was a shipping company. I shipped coins all over the world. But the thing is this, you can't it's really hard to start a coin business now. You need the competitors are massive. They have billions of dollars in backing, financing, uh, and VC, and there's just so much into it. So what sets us apart is our personal brand, right? And the humanness that goes into it all. There's a million, I'm a marketing branding guy. There's millions of me. There's literally millions of me. And I've been sober a long time. I used to do a lot of addiction recovery work with people. Also, millions of me. But I had a lot of success over the years because I was early on. And now there's just millions of all of us. So everybody's pumping out the same information, and you kind of need to do some of that. But if that's all you're doing, you're just going to blend in. So the best thing you can do, and to answer your question, is to be yourself. And when you're being yourself, not everybody is going to like you. You're going to get enemies, but the right people are going to love you. There's going to be people that read your stuff and they're going to scroll right past you. They're going to be like, I don't connect with Karen at all. She looks weird or whatever. But then there's going to be the right people that come along and go, that's who I need to talk to. Right. And the best way to do that is to keep putting content out and keep being yourself, expressing who you are. And when I talk a lot about my sobriety. It'll be actually in a month, April 8th, will be 23 years I've been sober. And I almost died thousands of times. I talk about it all the time. I don't do work in that area anymore. Although if anybody reaches out, I still work with people because I still get referrals, and I never turn anybody away who needs help. But um, I just don't do that work. I don't market about it anymore, but I do talk about it, and I've gotten six-figure clients because of I talk about it. So that's something. Oh, Cindy. Hey, Dennis, can you please try inviting me again? I can try that. But the point is like when I talk about my sobriety, I've had like high level CEOs and um, uh, owners, entrepreneurs, like of really big companies, and I did a lot of business because people, the leaders or the owners or the founders of these companies, they connected with me because of my sobriety, because of their own struggles in life. So it, that's how I would take that. It's like if you love flowers, but you are doing marketing and branding, talk about flowers. There's going to be people out there that love flowers, but even though they're going to see 100 other people doing marketing and branding, they're going to connect with you because you love flowers and you're being genuine, and they're going to want to just talk to you. So that's the solution to the AI slop, is to keep the humanness in your brand. That's going to be, I'll explain more in a second. I need to find a way to invite Cindy again. I don't know if I can. I mean, it says, so add guest. Oh, wait, send invite. All right, I just did. I sent it again. Cindy, try to get it. So here's how I like to describe it is this. You know, 20 years ago, or even just 10 years ago, if you had a website or some sort of technology or an app, that's what set you apart as a business. Now what sets you apart is being human. We've come full circle around now. And especially in today's AI automated microwaved everything on in 30 seconds world, if you could be human and help somebody slow down, everybody's living in this panicking stress. Like everything needs to be done in a second. There's short form video stealing our attention, politics, and all this crap going on in the world. And if you can find a way to be human and connect with people on a human level, that is going to be the path forward from this point on, where everybody's like, all these AI tools that are out there, there's thousands and thousands of them, and more being built every day by some of you. And I'm not saying don't build tools or build businesses or products or services. I'm saying find a way to try to keep the humanness in them. There are some companies or types of business models where you want to automate everything. You don't want to touch anything. There's like, if you have like a drop ship t-shirt printing business, there's Amazon type things where you just want to ship. Yeah, like that, you want everything automated. You don't need much human interaction because actually it slows you down, and that's a business model. But if you are like me, I have a high ticket service models, business models. So I do high ticket services that cost thousands of dollars, and so the you can't automate that type of relationship with surgeons or doctors or CEOs or real high level entrepreneurs that are dealing with millions and millions of dollars or more. You can't automate that. You can't automate the human relationships. And those people are looking for other humans to talk to that they can trust and communicate with. And that's my recommendation. Uh, Hopefully, Karen, do you think that I answered that question? Let's see, Karen, it's such an important topic. I don't think people understand what sets you apart is standing out and being human, but be you, not other people. Yeah, I mean, like, so there's a few popular people that I'm sure Justin Welsh, um, Alex Hormozy, and other people like that. You see them all over the place in your feed. Um, if you keep and everybody's just regurgitating all their content. They're really smart. Both of them are really smart. I've had conversations with Justin. I'm connected with Alex on LinkedIn, and they're really smart people. In fact, I've learned from them. I saw Justin's course like 5 years ago. I got it, and they were first to the game. So if you don't understand business and all you're doing is copying what they're doing, it's not going to work. Probably not. And then the other thing is you have to keep revamping and trying to find a way to make your model work. It's not a set it and forget it. That's another piece that people miss. They say the average overnight success story takes 2,000 nights, right? It takes 5 years, those overnight success stories, because you have to become the person. You have to become part with that brand. that you're building. And a lot of people quit way before the finish line, or they keep switching because they don't think it's working. When what you really, and there's times to pivot, but what you really need to do is go deep into it and figure out how to make it work. If it's a good idea, sometimes it's not a great idea, but if you understand, you have to understand online business models too. So like Justin, if everybody knows Justin Wells, so what made him big, first of all, he started talking about content, uh, like there was real genuine content, and he was building an audience, and then he was using the audience to get real information about what they would need. And so he created a course. And this is how we should all be doing it. You want to create content that builds an audience that you're trying to attract. In his case, he was trying to attract solopreneurs, early stage entrepreneurs, and it worked. And then he built a course that cost $150. I forget the name. I think it was like he had two. It was like the LinkedIn operating system or something like that. I forgot what it was, but anyway, he built a course that cost $150, and now he's like, I think he talks about it. If you follow him, you'll see. I think he's at like $12 million he's made in the last like few years, 5 years or something. So, but he can do that. He built an audience that supports that business model. So think about this. If your goal is to make $1 million, so you have to do the math. So this is some stuff I do as a business strategist. You have to strategize. If all you're doing is throwing shit against the wall and hoping something sticks, you're going to struggle, especially if you're dumping time and resources into it. So, but you have to think. Let's just say this. Let's say your goal is to make $150,000, and you have a course that costs $150. Okay, so let's clear. So 150 times 10, I think it's 10,000. Right, that's 1.5 million. So you need to sell 1,000 courses at $150 each, and it's really hard to sell 1,000 courses at $150 each. So in order to sell 1,000 courses, you need to reach a few million people over and over again, day after day, and you need to keep coming up with new ways to do that. So it's really hard to do that. And I'm not saying don't do it or it's not going to work, but if you don't have an audience already that supports that business model, you're going to struggle, which is why we need high ticket items. So if you have a $5,000 product or service, such as a high ticket coaching or branding, marketing, web development, those are the popular things now. Then you need to sell 25 of those, right? Which is still not easy, but it's more likely that you're going to sell, if you continue to build a brand, it's more likely you're going to sell 2 services a month, which is, if you're selling a $5,000 service, that's $10,000 a month. And then there's your $120,000 for the year, instead of trying to sell 1,000 $150 courses. So you really need to map out your business model. Or some people have now, building a course is really not a great idea, especially if you're building, especially if you don't have a big audience and you're spending a lot of time and resources doing that. You're going to struggle. Cindy made it, but I think I can hear you. Can people hear Cindy? I can't.
Can you hear me now?
I can't hear you, but maybe that's my problem. Hold on. Let me see. I'm going to take this out. Tell me, say something.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you. Okay, it was my...
It's a miracle.
We made it. Hi, Cindy.
Hey, so for some reason, I couldn't get past the preview mode on my laptop, so now I'm on my phone.
Awesome. Yes, I know.
It's nice to see you.
It's nice to see you too, yeah. And for those that don't know, I don't know Cindy.
Nope.
This is our first time chatting, which is really cool. Where are you?
It's really cool. I'm in Washington, D.C., beautiful springtime Washington, D.C. suddenly.
Nice. Yeah, I remember I grew up in New Jersey originally many moons ago. And so yeah, springtime, March, April, spring. April shower, Mayflowers, like that whole thing. Yeah.
All the stuff, all the seasons.
Oh, in like a lion, out like a lamb, something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, that was really true in Massachusetts where I grew up, not so much here.
Oh, Massachusetts, yeah, and I spent a lot my brother lives in Boston. I went to culinary school at Johnson& and Wales.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, 30
Oh,
I graduated 31 years ago, and then I went to college up in Vermont. For 10 years, I lived up there skiing and everything.
wow, that's so cool. And it's
Yeah.
so nice to get to know that about you because, I saw you on Substack and I saw you on LinkedIn, but that's how we actually get to trust each other and not bullshit with each other, is actually sharing
Yeah, and
true
I lo
things about ourselves.
yeah, and that's how we're gonna do it, and that's why I've committed to doing these lives pretty much every day. I have 5
Yeah.
this week. Next weekend, we're going to Miami to the Miami Open for tennis, and I'm going up because 'cause we're in Playa del Carmen in Mexico, so we're flying up to Miami to go to the
Ooh,
Open. Yeah,
nice.
yeah, so I won't get every day next week, but I'm gonna do every day this week, Substack lives, and then so to answer Karen's question,
Mm,
that's it, like, here's the other thing, like and then we'll get into the bullshit free zones, I love
yeah.
that topic, but, and this is a great way to build a bullshit free zone is because there are approximately 30 I don't know the exact number, but 35 to 40 million Substack users, and still only about 2 million creators. Means the ratio is like 17 or 18 to 1. On LinkedIn, it's like, 3 to 1, I think. On X, it's 1 to 1. Like, so the
Oh,
yeah, so that's why, like, when you do a post, a tweet or Twitter, an X, whatever they call it now, that
mhm,
has a half-life of, like, a couple seconds, right?
mm,
It's like if you don't if it doesn't get out to some people or people respond to it, it's dead right away. Substack,
mhm.
it's, like, ongoing. It's an evergreen model. So,
Absolutely. And in fact, I just started posting regularly, like I'd say within the last 8 weeks, and really developing a community and an audience. And what I noticed was people on Substack just engage a lot more deeply.
yeah,
And I
yeah.
think a lot of us are hungry for that. We're looking for meaning, we're looking for real connection, community. And I mean, fingers crossed. I haven't been here that long, but so far I'm finding that on Substack.
Yeah, and it's great. So the thing with these lives is this,
Mhm.
it's like on there's a of the 35 to 40 million people, there's a bunch of them that, like, their profile picture is like an AI image or a cartoon or whatever, and they can't back up what they're writing with talk. They can't, like, walk their talk. So,
Are they real people? I've been wondering this.
I'm sure some of them are bots or whatever, but
Mhm.
I don't know. That's why I think these lives are so important. It's like they know like, I can walk my talk. I could talk about what I do all day because I've been doing it for decades. But
Yeah.
and if you can do that, that's what sets you apart in the AI microwave automated world that we're living in. So that avoids some of the BS in my
Yeah.
world. And how
Yeah.
about you?
No, I think you're right. I mean, I'm learning about this world, this Substack world, this I think it's cool that they do these live videos because when you see the person behind the writing, it brings it alive. Yeah. And, may I just say that AI generated content, it's really disturbing because for me, and I'm trained as an ethicist, so I have sensitivities around this stuff, I'll admit. But, when it's that uncanny valley thing. When I'm looking at something and I'm like, it looks like you're trying to write something that you believe in. But when I see how similar it is to other things and I can tell that AI generated it, there's a distance that opens up between what you're trying to say and what I can know about what you're trying to say. And that distance creates skepticism for me. And, maybe it's because there's a lot of room for cynicism in our world, there's a lot of bullshitting and trying to find the path through to who's real, who's actually doing what they're saying they're gonna do. That's a human challenge right now.
It sure is, yeah, and being able to identify it too. But I think, like, I think that more people, it is easier to identify. Like, look, let's be real. Like, I use AI to help write my content. I have it mind dialed in. It reads my brain pretty much, and I don't just copy and paste it. But there's like, if I see M dashes
Mm,
like in an article, I just immediately get out of that article because I know that it was just pasted from AI. Now, the M dash has been around longer than we've been alive, but at
mhm,
the same time, that they're all programmed to use M dashes. So I have things programmed to not do that. And you could tell there's certain language models that you can see when you're reading it, you're like, oh, well, this is a robot that wrote
mhm.
all. So that's why it's important to do these lives so you can
Yeah,
see who's real and not.
absolutely, and the other thing is I really believe in doing things that scare us every day, and I've never done a live, so this is and obviously had a technical glitch around not being able to get on my, laptop. So that's great because it's a learning experience, it's growth, and that's what I think we all have to do every day, and I think you agree about that.
Yeah,
I know
totally.
enough about you to know that that's a big deal for you.
It is. Yeah, we have to do that stuff every day. You have to do something. I mean, I think the pursuit of comfort is like killing everybody. Yeah, I love these conversations. I can go deep into all of them, but the reason everybody's stuck right now, there's a lot of reasons, but
Mhm,
it's all conditioning. Like we're conditioned to do everything we do in our life. Our subconscious mind runs everything that we do, 90% of
mhm,
everything we do, and so unless you're aware of it, which most people aren't, and you're working on something worthwhile, which most people aren't, and you don't specifically say, I want to work on this. So that's why it's cool. The thing with Substack growth right now is it's still relatively new. It started, I think it was 2017, but it hasn't really picked up steam since until the last 2 years or so. So it's still a really amazing opportunity, in my opinion,
mhm.
to grow. But I mean, you have to really map it out. And I'm not saying like you have to be rigid about anything in life, because if you're too rigid, you're gonna break like an oak tree instead of being bending like a
Yep.
reed, right? And so, but you need to like have a clue what you're doing and then start working on that every day and getting through the hard parts. That's where people struggle. It's like, oh, well, I'm gonna do this big lofty goal. I'm gonna make $10 million. But right when and that the thought of that is a euphoric. But as soon as you start, like the day later, it gets hard. You're like, all right, what do I need to do? And then so instead of figuring it out, I'm gonna go get something to eat, or I'm gonna doom scroll or get drunk or stoned or watch Netflix for 6 hours. And then a day, a week, a month, a year goes by and you're not making progress.
Yeah, and we all struggle with, the challenge of doing what's hard, not what's easy, not giving in to our conditioning. As you said, discipline, it's really hard. That's why when I think about bullshit, I think number 1 is don't bullshit yourself.
Yeah, that's a big one.
Right? We think about it like don't accept other people's bullshit, but what about just let's start with don't bullshit yourself.
Yeah. And it's hard being honest with yourself is it's the hardest, I think, for a lot of
Incredibly
people.
painful, and we're built that way, to your point. We're built to just notice barely on the periphery of our experience what would change our lives totally if we would just stare at it and confront it directly.
Mm. And we're all very entitled now too, and I think spoiled. You know, our what I've been watching recently, the last couple weeks, is Peaky Blinders. Have you seen it on
Oh,
Netflix?
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I love it. And the reason I saw it like whatever 5 years ago or whatever.
Mhm.
And the reason I'm watching it is they made a movie or something else that's coming out, and I was like, "Ooh, we should watch that again." And I don't watch TV much ever. like, she watches it and at night before bed, but I just end up working and then I go to bed. But I really like that show, but the reason I'm bringing it up is that it was set, like, 100 years ago, and back then, life was survival.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't about, comfortable it wasn't comfortable living. It was
Yeah.
really life was hard, and yeah, it was
Well,
survival.
we're built for hard, and so whatever we experience, we make it hard. I mean, I think that's part of what we're going through. You're talking about a time when a abscess in your tooth could be a death sentence, right?
Yeah,
We
and
forget about
infection.
that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great I talk about that all the time, I love that. Yeah, we're having a fun talk. Yeah, because people used to die, nobody lived to be 90. It was extremely rare,
Yeah.
and but it wasn't that they were no, but also nobody had diabetes or cancer or even heart attacks. Like, it just didn't exist. So there's something else that's causing all that stuff, but which is comfort, right?
Mm,
Because we used to have purpose.
mm.
This is the reason everybody's stuck. I can get into this. I love talking about this.
Yeah.
I'll give the quick story because I used to do actually a speech on this years ago. But the thing is this is like we have purpose. The reason everybody's struggling is they don't have purpose. So years ago our purpose was food, water, shelter, clothing, provide for your family. That was it. And now those are our needs. We woke up in the morning, we had to go find food, water, and we had to have clothing, shelter, and protect our families. That's done. So now our needs are all met to excess, which is actually part of the problem. And so there's most people are just kind of wandering aimlessly. And then you start taking things personally, you're looking on social media because your
Mm,
life is kind of meaningless. So you have to create that purpose in your life. People talk about, oh, I want to retire when I'm 35. The goal is to never retire. The goal is to just not have to work,
mm.
right? We need to give ourselves purpose every day to jump out of bed. Otherwise, why? To watch Netflix for 6 hours and eat when
Yeah.
you're not hungry, like all this crap that's out there. So that's the reason everybody's sick right now, in my opinion. What do you
Mhm.
think?
I don't disagree with you at all, and I would add, purpose is an inside job. You know, we have to create for ourselves an understanding of what matters most to us in our lives, and in my opinion, to work toward a fuller agency, becoming the people that we want to become, becoming the people whom we would admire. That's number one. And it does take some thinking, some individual effort to get on that train because, to your point, it requires disconnecting from easy sources of um, distraction and maybe easy sources of false alignment. Even a lot of people have jobs where they're sleepwalking through most of their days. And jobs are really important, income is really important. But to the extent that you can align your values with what you're doing most of the time, you're going to find a level of fulfillment that is far different. And, that's the opportunity we have now.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's what's great about the technology, but it's not supposed the thing with the AI and the technology, it's a supplement to our lives, not a substitute for living our best lives. And I think that's where the people are off. It's because 'cause they're using it as a substitute for
That's
everything.
That's a big question I have. What is your view about the appropriate use of technology and the appropriate kind of control of it for a person to gain greater agency and sense of purpose?
I guess I need a more detailed
What do you
question, like
do? I mean, just very frankly, what do you do? Like, I look at people in their 20s right now, and it's almost like it's coming into your experience constantly unless you take really dramatic steps to filter it out. And one thing I notice is it means that all the problems of the entire global world feel like your problems, when your problem might be, I just picked up this glass of alcohol and it's 1 in the afternoon. That might be your problem, but your focus is on all this other stuff. So I'm asking, I guess, a really pragmatic question. How do you disconnect from what doesn't matter?
Yeah, and that's tough. You're right, and some of that takes discipline, and it starts right when you open your eyes because the problems that we're talking about, they're not our fault either. Check this out. All this technology, it's designed to keep us addicted. That's how they make money. That it's tripping dopamine off all day long on our phone. When we used to have to go out and work for dopamine, eh, we used to
Right.
have to we used to have to earn it. Now it's like you open up your phone and short form video
Mm.
it's the biggest cause for problems in the world right now.
Are we
It's
participating in problems right now, Dennis? Just a question.
Yes,
No.
we are. Yeah. This isn't short form video. This
No,
is
this is live.
These are
Yeah,
personal interviews. What
yeah,
I'm talking about is the short form video that we create. It's like for clients, and I do it for myself too.
yeah.
It has a hook. Like when you look at YouTube or TikTok or whatever, there's a thumbnail, and that thumbnail is designed to hijack your attention.
Mhm.
Remember, so the average person is scrolling between 100 and 200 yards a day, 1 to 2 football fields a day on their phone. So
Oh, wow.
you have a split second to hijack their attention and get them to stop scrolling. And it starts with a thumbnail, and the thumbnail needs to have a hook on it. That's why it's like some type of dramatic, awful thing. Like the news does this, CNN and Fox News. It's like death, destruction, despair, hate, racism, anger. Those things get you stop scrolling. And so
Mhm,
now everybody's using those. So it's not just the news channels, it's people selling marketing, right?
mhm.
Like I only have a split second to get you to stop your scroll. So it
Yeah.
starts with a thumbnail, and then you watch the video. The video does the same thing. There's a visual video hook too that gets you to watch the rest of the video. Because do you know the average length of a viral video on TikTok?
What?
It's like 7 seconds. That's our attention span. And in marketing, if you go to years ago, you used to have to see in marketing, we had mailers or TV commercials, magazine ads. You had to see a product or a service or a company or a brand 4 to 7 times. Now it's over 20 times before people are taking action because our attention is so scattered.
Oh, well, that's encouraging because it suggests to me just how much work I need to do to find someone who actually wants to hear what I'm doing. So let me ask you this. We're talking about bullshit. Marketing, attention grabbing seems to be something that we need to do just to share our offer, what we have that can help other people. That's important. It's an expression of our agency, in my opinion. However, doing the things that will grab attention, they seem to be a little manipulative. How do you square that? How do you feel about marketing? Is there something you won't do?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. It really comes down to keeping the humanness in it and,
Mhm.
you know, being who you are while also finding ways to achieve your goals, in an ethical way. You say you're an ethicist,
Yeah.
yeah, of course. What's the line for you?
I was just writing about this, and I think when you're creating fear on purpose and you're playing on someone's deepest insecurity to try to get them to click, that's a line for me
Mhm,
because that's really negative. To me, there's harm for the other person in that. And so to me, that's a pretty clear line. But if I look at a lot of marketing, I see people crossing that line a lot
absolutely,
because it's more than just identifying the need. Identifying the need you're meeting is important. It's, you know, y- almost like, you are bad at this. You are not going to be good at this without my help. And it's just that you feel the diminishment of the other. That bothers me a lot.
Yeah, well, then don't do that. I mean, like, that is a great
Ah,
point. No, yeah, and it's like staying in alignment with your values, and if you are doing that, then you've already won. Like, at some point, it's going to work, and that's what I was talking about before. It's
mhm,
like, eh, whatever we're building, I have to tell you, I mean, like, what I'm a fairly successful guy, but it didn't happen overnight, and I made more mistakes than everybody. I promise I've made them all, and I've lost relationships, bankruptcy, health problems, all the stuff that everybody goes through. I've had
yeah,
them all, and I made it, and it's just the difference is that I didn't quit, and
mm,
so I had to become the person that knows how to handle my life right now. 'Cause, like,
yeah,
if you were to see my life, it looks really nice and cool, but I had to learn how to build that, and then I had to
mhm,
learn how to manage it. The person I was 20 years ago couldn't even manage my life right now. I couldn't manage I have a team, it's about 10 guys right now.
mhm.
It is all guys, it just happened that way, but, I'm not sexist or anything. Anyway, um, but I couldn't manage people. I couldn't
Mhm,
manage myself. You know, I had to
mm,
become somebody who was able to do that, and then I had to learn how to hire, uh, and do everything that's associated with building my business into my life and have a relationship, which is the
mm.
hardest thing in the world to
Yeah,
do. So,
yeah. And each
that's
of those steps, you made a decision, and you didn't make one decision. You made a decision every hour of the day to forward your agenda that was positive and to forego certain elements of experience that were negative for you. And I'm guessing that discipline just developed over time as you created habits that were really positive.
it did, and I still fall short on them too. So
Yeah.
that's the other thing. It's like we never actually arrive at this magical place where everything is perfect. It's like I still like Friday, wait, the problem you were having getting on this video, I was on
Yeah.
with one of my clients, who's a surgeon and who's very detail
Uh,
oriented. Like, he cuts people open, 15 people a week open, and I couldn't get on, and I was like, "Fucking!" I was screaming and yelling, just like you couldn't get on this morning. I was doing the same thing. So
aw,
I
that
was
makes
like,
me feel better. It We have to learn what we don't know, and sometimes it's us, sometimes it's the equipment, we don't know, but yeah,
"Yeah,
figuring it out. And by the way, the swearing and it's hilarious because we all have a direction we go in. I go in the other direction. Like it sounds like you go in the like, "I'm gonna
well,
kill
it
some
depends
people."
on the situation, and I like a we can get into, like, emotional intelligence. It's like, if the camera was on and I was public facing, I know how to manage regulate my emotions, which I didn't know for a long time, which is why I drank and got stoned for 15 years and avoided the world because I didn't know how to manage myself in the world. And so I think there's a lot of people like that, and it takes time. And the only way to learn is to do life. And then you learn how to you stumble, you bang your head against the wall, and then you figure out how to not do that, and then move to the next thing. And now
And
there's Xanax. You don't need to. There's Xanax. You can numb out.
for time, though, if you're trying to stay conscious, see what you're learning, you get what you have, which is humility. I mean, how many times have you said, "And I still do it, and I still have this problem?" You don't have, like, the substances in your way. You've made the most important critical decisions, but you're still human, you're still gonna have moments, and all of us do. It's what we do in that moment. What's the next thing we do? And by the way, do we fall into a shame cycle where we feel like, "Okay, it's all gone?" You know, disaster. That is our disaster, so we have to save ourselves.
Yeah,
Oh,
and yeah, and that's a really great point, and I really, like, wanted to, uh oh, I just lost my thought. But what no, but yeah, what was I
It was a shame cycle? Was it, saving
no,
our
no, no. Well, anyway, it's just that we all go through it and we have to learn and become who it is we wanna become. But to answer I know what it was. I wanted to go back and answer your question about, like, how do we stay in value alignment with who we are and still get our word out about our business? And,
Yeah,
um, and that's a great question because I think it depends on what it is you're selling and who you are, and that should align with who you are too. So,
mm,
you know, I'm not sure if you were listening before or if you were struggling to get on, but I was saying like everything depends on your business model. Like you can automate if you're just selling drop ship printed t-shirts that you can print on demand, you know, and sell them in China or in Japan or in the US overnight. Like you don't want any you don't want to touch any of that. You just want that all automated on pilot. You don't need to talk to people and have Substack lives. You just want to sell thousands of t-shirts. So if you have a high touch service, like it sounds like you do, I don't know what you do. I
yep,
think you have coaching. It sounds like you have a coaching. Yeah. So I mean,
coaching people. So it's yeah, it's meeting people's needs for change, meaning, organizational alignment with values. Yeah.
yeah. Well, I mean, yeah. So, what I would do in your case is you have to create a great visual brand, which is like which is different for you than it is for me. My job as a like I do this for a living, so I
Mm,
study like what would be the best path for you to take and how to brand yourself and build uh, marketing campaigns that align with who you are, and it wouldn't involve like you know the fear of death, like, it's a different marketing campaign, and it evolves over time, and it constantly changes too, like, the brand like, the way that you see my brand, whether it's on LinkedIn or Substack, which are my that's where I spend most of my time, and my team, we're building out YouTube and TikTok and doing all these other things. The way that it looks now is not the way it looked even now, you know, how we're changing our brand every 3 to 6 months. It's a new brand. In fact,
what
last year it was orange, or a year and a half ago. For years, I was like orange
w
because yeah.
you didn't like orange?
No,
Orange
it's
was
I've always been a blue guy. Like blue is the color of serenity and tranquility. And I live on the Caribbean Sea. Like I love the blue. But when I was doing my logo like 10 years ago, it was on a website where you have freelancers submit their like multiple submissions. There was like 100. And the one that was awesome, it was this red and orange fiery DB. And so I was like, it's really cool. So I did it. But it wasn't aligned with who, every time I looked, there was something wrong about it. And so last year I changed it. And it's so funny too, because I'm like, well, I'm done. I have hundreds of thousands of followers, and everybody is like gonna freak out when I change my logo from orange to blue. And I was panicking about it for like 2 months. Like, oh my God, it's gonna be crazy. I have all these assets, everything's orange blah, 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 everywhere. And I changed it. And two people noticed. They said, oh, I like your new logo, Dennis. That was
Oh. That's such a good example, though, of how the things that we worry about are not the things that matter very
nobody
often.
gives a shit. Right.
Mhm. Are you so I'm an educator originally. Are you actually originally a marketer? Because obviously you put a lot of time and attention into this, and I'm learning a lot from you right now.
Yeah, that's a great question, and the answer is no. Like, I've gone in so many different directions in my life that
Mhm.
when I graduated, which was 1990 in New Jersey, a long time ago, um, I went to college in Vermont, and I was a ski racer, ski bum party guy, and I was I got my degree in it was an associate's degree, the first one in business. And then I went to culinary school and I was a chef because I was a skier. So I used to ski 100 days a year and I had to work. So I worked in restaurants at night and I got my culinary degree and I was a chef.
Mm,
And I did that for the 90s. And then I went back and finally got my bachelor in business, hotel business management.
mm.
And then, and then I moved out to Colorado, where I was in Colorado for 20 years, and I had a catering company, or I worked at Cisco Food Store. That's where I learned about sales and marketing originally, like
Mhm.
25 years ago. And then, I was there for like 3 years, but then I got sober, which is an important part because I almost died. And then I started really being entrepreneurial, and I had a catering company. I had a candle making company. I used to make candles. I was a personal trainer. I got into health and fitness, but all those businesses were failing because I didn't know how to run a business. And I knew how to do my crafts, and that's really important because there is a difference between doing your craft or your skill or whatever it is you're good at and running a business. They're 2
100%.
separate things. In
Yeah.
fact, there's very talented lawyers, doctors, accountants, everybody who actually accountants are pretty good at it because they're very, organized and frugal. But, uh, there's people who start these practices and they fail, and they're brilliant doctors or lawyers,
Yeah.
but they don't know how to run a business. It's
Yeah.
a different thing. So, then what happened was I started selling rare coins and gold and
Where did
silver.
that come from? That's not hospitality.
So my brother who lives in Boston, he's a hedge funder, and
Mm.
he manages like 60 billion in assets. He's very smart, and he started teaching me about gold and silver and commodities, and so I started buying silver. I couldn't afford gold which sucks because at the time it was like 500 an ounce, and but I could afford silver was like $5 an ounce, so I started buying it, putting it on credit cards, and I saw what was happening before the crash in 2008, and then I was really well positioned at the time, and I was buying and selling, and so my rare coin business turned into a multi-million-dollar project, and it
Wow.
taught me everything I know about. It changed my life. It taught me a lot, almost 20 years ago, and then I had to evolve into who I am today. It's a never-ending process, but that's how I learned. I got a jobs at marketing companies because after I left the coin business, I s I didn't know marketing the way that I wanted to, so I got jobs at marketing companies, and then I started learning about LinkedIn about 10 years ago, and started diving into it, and then that's where we are now.
Mm. Well,
What
you
about
have 2 of the qualities, obviously, that I think are essential for a person to develop their agency. And one is curiosity. You're genuinely curious about the world. You're willing to dig in and learn things deeply. Whatever comes next, you're willing to learn it. And and the other is discipline. I mean, when you talk about learning to run a business, it's hard. And if you've never run something, there's no reason you would know how. There's a lot of alignment, structure, protocols, ways of doing things, and you need to actually learn it. So I applaud you for being the kind of person who can get things done and make things happen. And you've done it a lot of times, it sounds like.
Yeah, and it's a passion, like, you really need to be passionate about it too, and if you're not, like, all those things you said
Mhm.
are hard. It's really hard. Like, I do have a discipline, and I get up, and I have a schedule and a routine that I follow,
Mhm.
and but I still fall short, I still get frustrated, and I work 18 hours a day, but I also take naps, and I go to the beach, and I swim and stuff like that.
Mhm.
But, it's a lifestyle, not a job, and it's a lot of work to get. But tell me about you because I've been doing all this talking the whole time, and we're gonna go over today for people listening or not, if you can. I can, I think. Wait, hold on, let me double check because I do have meetings, but I don't think yeah, I have time now. Um, so tell me about you, and so for those who don't know, introduce yourself because you are fairly new here to Substack. I'm fairly new, it's only been 6 months, but,
Yeah. You have
you're
a big following you're bringing from LinkedIn, I think. Yeah.
I do use LinkedIn. It is nice to have that flywheel. Like I pull
Mhm.
all my posts, I used to send people to my website or my services. I send them all to Substack now.
Mm,
It
that's
helps.
cool.
Yeah.
That's cool. So,
But tell me about you.
anyways, tell me. I have a PhD in philosophy. I'm an ethicist by training.
Ooh.
Started out I like that you like that. Some people just
Oh, I love that. That's amazing. A
I
PhD in philosophy and an ethics.
yeah. Yeah, not bad for a waitress from Cape Cod, right? That's how I started. That's how I knew a lot of people from Johnson& and Wales.
Oh, yeah, that's where a lot of them go. Yeah,
Yeah,
sure.
exactly.
I used to work in Narragansett, and then we worked in there was a restaurant in, Saugus, Pocari's. It was an Italian restaurant, then we used to work there on the weekends, and yeah, anyway, go
Cool.
ahead.
Anyway, so I started out as a philosophy professor, doing a little bit what we're doing, talking about values, meaning, but usually using really classic texts as a guide. I got into higher education administration. So it's a little bit like running a business, but it's a pretty big distributed business with a lot of different owners that you're managing, as you can imagine.
Yeah,
So I was an assistant provost at Georgetown University and a bunch of other jobs in higher ed. And then I moved into the association space. And I worked in leadership, specifically in associations that did membership development for leaders in real estate. And so that was my kind of whole new thing to jump into. But eventually, I made the decision that I would be able to give more of what I had to offer working for myself. And a big part of that was recognizing that although I knew how to run things and I could make them a lot better, there were limits to what I could do. And when you're working for yourself, you actually meet the people who need what you have to offer. What I have to offer is a whole lot of truth, a lot of discipline, and a lot of structure. And a lot of people want and need that. Some people do not. And
right.
you probably know just what I mean.
I do. Yeah, that's amazing. And so what is your hope here on Substack?
Yeah. My hope is to find my people, to be able to share what I know with people that it matters to. There are a lot of people, I think, who are having a crisis of meaning,
Mm,
and I understand why. It's a tough world we're living in to become yourself.
mm,
I think that's an accomplishment. I think it's an achievement. I think it's beautiful. I think it's worthwhile. And if you're running something, then aligning your values with that organization could not be more important because that's how you get people who care about what you're doing into your organization. And so, doing coaching and consulting, what I'm trying to do is share what I know about aligning values with mission, with agency, and with organizational development with other people. And it's a really cool new chapter for me because it's totally different and it's totally uncomfortable in very specific ways.
so are you trying to reach, corporations or individuals?
Both. I mean, right now I'm working with mainly small companies, organizations that somewhat a founder created, but I also expect that I'll have corporate clients because this kind of thing, I mean, to be honest, there's an epidemic of meaning in corporations. And arguably, there shouldn't be such a problem of purpose because corporations do a really good job of saying transparently, here's what we're about, here are our values, but aligning that so that every part of the organization is experiencing that. And individuals who are working there, stakeholders, are also seeing, yeah, you're putting your words into action, totally aligned. That's a different thing. And people need help with that.
They do, and I think that actually the hardest part of that starts at the hiring process. If you That's by hiring the right people because it's hard to get the wrong people in alignment with that mission.
Yeah, that's very true. It does start in hiring, but it also starts within the individual because there are leaders who may have become cynical about what they're doing. And
Sure.
that cynicism is just deadly for creating meaning. People can tell. When you're saying what you do and why it matters, they're paying attention to see whether you believe what you're saying. And so it can be something that, you have all the right words in place, even you're doing the right things, but your commitment, your conviction is lacking and it shows, and your stakeholders are going to figure that out.
Okay, so how do you go in and make that happen as what you do?
Well, it's really a process of discovery. You need to see what the organization is saying about itself, what its mission is, what it's offering, and then whether it's making good on the statements with relation to the goals and the actual outcomes. And mapping all of that is really the first step. And what a lot of what I do, sometimes just mapping it out and providing someone with, hey, just from the outside, I can see that you've got some issues, can be very helpful. But ideally, what I like to do is actually interview people, talk with the leaders, talk with the leadership team. I could do that with your team. If I interviewed everybody who works for you, is Dennis doing what he says he's going to do? Do you feel the values of the organization are aligned? I would get so much information. And I'm sure it would be good in your case because it's your constant focus. But one thing is, people don't always tell the truth to the people who are providing them with a paycheck. And so there's a lot of room for kind of people to go underground. And that alienation shows up in your service.
Interesting. It does. It
Yeah.
bleeds through every part of the organization.
Yep.
Yeah, into the
But I'm
customer.
sure that's not happening with you. But it's happening for a lot of people and for good reason. As you said, it comes down to, are people putting the attention into who they are, what they're bringing? There's a level of cynicism that replaces what would be our authentic, earnest commitment.
Yeah, and I also think that when somebody starts a business and the growth happens, I think some of that original intent gets lost in the for over money or growth or like some of the foundational principles, the ethics or whatever gets buried underneath money. And so a lot of times I think everybody's looking to add solutions and sometimes it's to remove the things that are causing the problems, the obstacles or
Mhm.
burying the original intent and pulling that back out, right?
That's a really great point, and it's something we don't often acknowledge. You know, the minute that you start prioritizing money over what is the purpose of this? What are the outcomes? It's over. Yeah, it's really over because it creates not only bad outcomes, but a level of dysfunction and even potential corruption that is not compatible with a good business. It just isn't.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Yeah, and it sounds like everything that you're talking about is the same thing. I don't say, you know, I'm a I'm not a psychologist, but I've done a lot of work around this stuff. And we build brands the same way. Everything you were talking about, it's like getting the leader on board and or in alignment with the original values and missions and visions of the company with everybody else. And if you can get that into alignment, that's the hardest part about growth. And a lot of people, most people, I think, fail because they grow too fast when you get the eyes on the money. But when
Mhm.
you're building a brand, though, it's a lot of the same things. Like like the brand is not just a logo. That's the visual brand. There's a voice part of your brand. There's different parts of a brand, the
Mhm.
psychology that goes into branding, and it could take years to really nail a brand
Mhm.
and get into alignment with the founder or the product, and then the end user. like getting that whole thing in alignment. It's
Mhm.
not just, a pretty logo. It's cool what AI can make a logo now. It used to take like days or weeks, but that's just that's just that part of the brand. There's a lot that goes into it. So, and it's constantly evolving over time,
Mhm.
especially
Mhm.
now, like Coca-Cola, like McDonald's. Like if you look at McDonald's, and don't eat a McDonald's, poison. But anyway, if you look at the golden arch, yeah, it's really bad. But anyway, if they had like if you went somewhere and they had like green arches, it would confuse you, right? Because
Yes.
and they have a consistent brand, and people have that expectation based on the seeing the golden arches, the smell, which is gross. Don't eat there. But anyway, but anyway, there's an expectation. It's consistent whether you're in Washington D.C. or in Australia.
Mhm.
It's shit, and don't eat there. It's poison. But same thing with
How
Coca-Cola.
do you really feel about it, Dennis?
Yeah, but I mean that's the thing. It's like it's consistent psychology that goes into brand building, and it takes time. So you
Yeah,
and it's
the other thing is, I mean, brand, when it's real, it's what makes a company, an organization, a person trustworthy. It's it's about what's real. It's about what's true. It's about not bullshitting. And I think what is so confusing in this world of ours is that so often it's taken that that's something you can just do that totally separately from who you really are and what your mission actually is. And that's really gross.
yeah, and I think there is a lot of it now because you can like I have to tell you, like if you go back and look at some of my posts from before AI came out, like
Mhm,
and if you were to there was a lot of white space in my posts. If you go back a few years, like before I guess 2023, um, I wrote all of those things. And if you were to take all the white space and compress it down, it's really like 1 to 2 paragraphs for like a LinkedIn post. And those 2 paragraphs, it sometimes take me 2 hours or more,
mhm.
right? 1 post, right? And now you could do it in 30 seconds. So you have people that don't have the same experience that are creating content and pretending they do. And then they're pretending they do the thing that they actually say they do and building businesses around things that they don't know how to do. And
Yeah.
that's a problem. Now, the other problem is this, is like, we all start somewhere. So there has to be an ethical point, which I guess this is your job, right? It's like, you know, we have to start somewhere. And some people are like, fake it till you make it and things like that. But if you're taking money that doesn't belong to you and you're putting people's lives at risk, like as life coaching and things like that, then I guess that's the problem. But people have their eyes on the money, right? So where is that line?
You have to add value. You have to add value, and you have to be committed to values, and you have to make them real in everything you do. Here's another thing just to mention. I have clients who are really good people, have something incredible to offer, and they don't know how to talk about it because they feel so uncomfortable marketing themselves. And that's almost like the reverse problem. It's like, I'm too ethical, I'm too virtuous, or maybe I've been trained to be too quiet or compliant or whatever it is to be willing to put myself out there. I think that hurts the world too, because we need more people to step up and step into their power who really care about values. We need to make values fun again and make it possible to try again when you know you have something to offer.
Well, you need to tell them to call Dennis.
That's maybe what we should do.
Yeah, but yes, that is what you should do. But but on the other point, the other part of that though is that um, again, it takes time.
Yeah.
I think that you know, in your in for your y- a- as they're your clients, like your part is to get them to take the first step, not the 10th step.
Mm,
And like, if you can get them to take the first step, the second step will present itself when they're
mm,
ready. That's all part of becoming, right? So it's like,
mm,
yeah, people say all the time, "Well, I want to make $10 million." it's kinda like I was telling you about my life, like, I wouldn't have even known 20 years ago how to handle my life now. I wasn't
Mhm,
capable or mature or strategic or whatever. I wasn't capable enough to do that. I had to
mm,
become the person who can handle my life now, and I continue to grow. So, I am not the person yet who's gonna be able to handle my life when I'm 65 or I'm 54 now, but at 64, I'll
mhm,
have different capabilities. So we have
mhm,
to in that person, I think people trying to rush that, and that's what causes most of the problem, the stress, the anxiety, the fear, the uncertainty. I don't know how to
mhm,
handle that, so I'm gonna get drunk, or I'm gonna get stoned, or I'm gonna binge watch, or watch porn, or eat when I'm not hungry, or whatever. It's just I'm gonna distract myself because I don't know how to handle this. Or you could just say, "I don't know how to handle this yet. What do I need to do next?" And grow into it. But nobody's
mhm,
doing this. You know,
mhm,
world when, Buddha 2,500 years ago, like, there wasn't traffic, there wasn't your 401k plan, all the stressors that we have today weren't there. He was like, "Well, let's see, if I'm gonna eat today, I'm gonna sit under this tree for 6 hours and think about it." Right? It was a different world. So
mhm,
now all those principles don't apply either. We can't sit under a tree and meditate for 6 hours a day, every day. Sometimes you can. So we have to find that balance, the B word, which
yeah.
nobody likes and nobody's good at, but we have to find a rule that works for us.
Mhm. I love how you put it, and I love how you said you have to take the first step and the step that's next, and after that. That's really the heart of it, and I want you to write a, post on that.
Right.
I
I will.
I would really appreciate that.
Yeah, and it's true. Like, just do what's next. The next right thing.
Mhm,
So in sobriety, um, that was in the beginning, you're like, that I don't go to AA anymore, but I did used to. I went, and then when I had clients, I would send them too. I think everybody should go for 90 days. Don't go for 20 years because
mhm,
you're addicted to AA. That's another discussion. But anyway, the thought of saying, "I can't ever," when all you do is drink and it's causing a problem because if you're going to AA, there's a problem. So,
mhm,
uh the thought at that point of not ever being able to drink again is you can't even put that together in your head. But you could just say, we say, "Do the next right thing." And sometimes the next right thing is, like, take a shower and get dressed. I can't think about what life is gonna be like in a week, month, year, or even tomorrow, but I can go take a shower right now. And
mhm,
same thing if you're building a business, it's like,
mhm,
I don't know how to make $10,000,000. Most people don't. What's your goal? I wanna make $10,000,000. Well, how much do you make now? Well, I make 50,000. So that's not a realistic expectation. And so the
mm,
expectation is the problem. The 10,000,000, you should keep that. That's called an umbrella goal. Keep that there. We're gonna work on it. And then you reverse engineer it. But if
mm,
next year you make 100 grand, you doubled your income. That's amazing.
mhm,
So
mhm.
next
That's
there,
success.
yes,
The only thing we have in our control is what we're doing right now, and everything else is noise and a distraction and, confusing, really, and what you're saying, 100% agree. The other thing I wanna mention about AA, which, um, is an incredible program, is just there you find a community of people willing to tell the truth and be vulnerable, and I think there's a huge connection between that willingness on the part of the individual to be vulnerable and say what's really happening and the possibility of real change. It happens in that space where we're honest with one another. And it's sort of a miracle how it happens in that space where we're honest with one another. I see it in my coaching, and I'm sure you do too, Dennis.
absolutely. Yeah, and that's where all this started because I used to do a lot of speaking, and
Mhm.
it started there because I used to talk in the meetings, and then companies would hire me for trainings and stuff.
Mm.
Yeah, the honesty. Like, the man you're seeing, and I think we're gonna have to have we'll do another live, at some point,
Yeah, it'd
but
be great.
yeah, but it's like the person you're seeing right now, this Dennis is not the Dennis I used to be,
Mm.
and, uh, but the cool thing is, like, when I when I started getting sober, it's like I can't go to Starbucks and sit there and start talking to people and go, sometimes I think about suicide or homicide or my life's on fire. I hate my wife and blah, 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 like all these things. But if you go to an AA meeting, you sit there and you're like, sometimes I think about suicide. And you look around the room and people are like, yeah, I get it. And so I think it's like surrounding yourself with success, whatever that means. Like here, we're surrounding ourselves with people that are interested in us. Otherwise, why would they be here listening right now? And so you want to build a network of people around you that support your goals. And if there's
Yep.
people in your network that don't, get them out of your network.
Yes. Yes. They are not good for you.
That's right. Toxic people,
We're
eliminate toxic people aggressively. Like aggressively get them out of your life. Family, everybody. Like you can yeah, like eliminate your family, but you can drastically reduce the amount of time you spend with them.
Mhm. Yeah, it's hard enough to get yourself aligned with supportive people around you, let alone with toxic people.
That's right.
Mhm.
Well, so tell us because we'll schedule another one and we can
That'd
do
be
another
great.
one. But so tell us your main outcome here. What are you hoping to get? And then how can people get in touch with you? And let's start there.
That's fantastic. I'm just hoping to get more followers and more subscribers, more people who care about the message that I'm sharing on Substack. So, you can
Which is
subscribe,
which is
which
what?
which is I am all about helping you to put your ethical agency first. Believe in yourself, believe in the power of your values to create change in your life and the lives of other people. That's what it is.
Muy bien.
Everything we've been talking about.
Yeah, I love that. And so what's the best way to get in touch with you? Do you have
Yeah, I
a
mean,
website or do you want to keep it on Substack?
I would love for people to get in touch with me on Substack because this is a place where which is the focus of kind of my thinking right now. So that'd be fantastic. I also have a website. It's fosterchance.com if you're interested.
Muy bien. Awesome. Well,
Thank you.
yeah, and thank you. It was great. I love having these. A couple of the other ones I have this week are I haven't met Karen Spinner. I haven't met her. I think she's
Mm.
on Wednesday. I'm not sure. And then somebody else. I can't. My brain is full. But that's a great way to get to meet somebody very transparently, 100% honest and open, right?
Yeah, super fun. And I'm sorry I had to do it on my phone, but next time, figure out the tech better. Thank you, Dennis, for inviting me.
And thank you everybody. Have a beautiful day. Adios.
Bye.